welcome to Technical Talks. This is our Geosynthetic Solutions webinar. I am thrilled to say that I'm live in Portland, Oregon with my friend Melissa Hurley.
Yay, welcome to Portland, Bill.
Yeah, I love it. Cascade Geosynthetics is going strong here. Welcome everybody. One of the things you'll hear as a recurring theme for us is there's no way we could possibly cover everything in one hour webinar. So we're hoping to plant some seeds of interest in you, give you some ideas, clear up some things you maybe have always wondered or been confused about, and then just let you know that there's a lot more out there than we could touch on, and we love meeting you in person and coming to visit you. So with that, I'm going to continue the webinar. We are part of the Hale Holdings of companies. If you see me often wearing different brands and logos, it'll be these four on the right: Quick Supply, ASP Enterprises, Bowman Construction Supply, and right here, Cascade Geosynthetics. We are the largest family-owned distributor in our business in the country, and we take that very seriously. We operate as a family not just within each branch, but across our companies, and we get together often. So it's been really fun sharing knowledge and resources and improving what we do to offer better service to you. We talk about being site solutions providers, and solutions solve problems. So with that,
you know, it's really good to be able to provide the solution, but how cool is it when we actually get to the root problem?
I love that you described that last week.
And that's something that we've been talking about internally, is trying to be not just answering the question, but probing more, trying to find out more about what's actually going on that's creating sort of the obvious, either something you need to stay compliant with, but maybe there's something that's a better long-term solution that can maximize value on a project site. So we're challenging ourselves with looking for problems before we start offering solutions. It's a tiny shift in mindset, but it feels important. And it's really an inspiring way to go about.
And that's how you get into long-term solutions. So sometimes people just want to put a Band-Aid on what they think is the problem.
Correct.
But if we can help them determine what's the underlying problem, then we might actually give them something that'll work one and done, and they can move on to something else to spend their time and money on.
And if we have young people on this webinar that don't understand the reference,
hey bud, what's your problem?
call your Gen X friends.
Yeah, and ask them about fast times in Ridgemont High.
So we're going to look at geosynthetic solutions. And when I talk about a geosynthetic solution, we are thinking of everything under our umbrella of products, which is very large. We're only going to have time to focus today on the synthetic solutions, primarily geotextiles, geogrids, geocells. But I just wanted to say explicitly that we consider these non-synthetic solutions a part of our portfolio of products as well. And those are things like biodegradable, erosion control mattings, fiber rolls, coir logs, hydromulch, organic, non-leaching fertilizer, grass seed, soil bioamendments, really to grow the best form of erosion control, which is healthy, sustainable vegetation.
Absolutely.
So we're all about vegetative solutions, sometimes with the aid of polymer-based products and sometimes just the biodegradable products on their own. We carry specialty products like geofoam, lightweight aggregates, aqua block, bentonite encased aggregate, a full suite of stormwater detention solutions. But we're going to focus today on the polymer-based products that I discussed.
Yeah.
And then just one more comment I wanted to share about, we call ourselves a distributor. And what does that mean? What is a geosynthetic distribution company? We don't make anything. We are out in the marketplace creating valuable relationships with key vendors. And our vendors are the guys we buy stuff from all over the world. And these are companies that we go to their plants, we interface with their technical people, we see what R&D they're working on, what investments they're making, what innovative strategies and products, applications are coming out. And that's our job. Our job is to go to the conferences, read the white papers, stay up on training and new product technologies, put those products in our warehouses so they're regionally available. And then it's our job to go out to the job site, make sure that we're training our contractors, installing contractors, make sure things are going in the ground correctly. So once specified, we get the correct installation, and we've got a viable solution. So just a quick roll about
Well said.
what distribution means.
Good job.
Okay, so a useful way to think about either specifying or choosing the right geosynthetic product is to think about functions. So these are a pretty good illustration of the functions of geosynthetics. And some of the basic ones listed here for both civil and environmental applications in conjunction with traditional materials like aggregate, asphalt, concrete, soils can enhance performance and improve the life cycles of infrastructure. So we're going to take these, kind of one by one and talk about what the functions mean, but it's a really useful approach for trying to come up with what the right product is.
Yeah, because those functions solve problems.
Yeah, functions solve problems, and I took it from Dr. Kerner and learned this from the smart guys, and this is a very good approach. So let's get really down to the basics. What's a non-woven geotextile? This is your filter fabric, the fuzzy felt type.
Yeah, you can't.
Fabric
Doesn't come through on the camera very well.
Most likely a needle punched polypropylene. These are readily available. This is an inert, non-biodegradable fabric. The non-wovens are high permittivity, high elongation. And when we speak about non-wovens, we often refer to them in ounces per square yard. You'll say, oh, I need a 4-ounce non-woven or a 6-ounce or an 8-ounce. That's a handy way of speaking about it, but most civil specifications don't really have a mass per unit area code on it anymore. Yep. So what the important specifying properties are tensile strength, yep, CBR puncture, tear strength, and hydraulic properties like AOS, apparent opening size or sieve, permittivity or pore size distribution. The neat thing about non-wovens is they're common, they're readily available, they're inexpensive, and they hit those drainage and separation functions primarily.
Yep.
Oh, right there, Bill.
Yep. I was proud of you. I'm proud of you.
Separation and filtration.
There you go.
On their own, we're not getting confinement or reinforcement with non-wovens.
Correct. That's again, that goes back to us knowing the right place for the right product.
Correct. Your woven geotextile, conversely, is what we call the slippery plastic type, road fabric, Marafi paper, 500X. These are some of
a lot of terms. A
lot of terms used for this, but wovens are actually a really wide range. So from polypropylene flat tape yarns to high performance or reinforced woven products, also made from polypropylene or polyethylene. The polyester.
Polyester.
Yes, thank you. Which has high creep and very high tensile strength.
Yeah, I love what you added on here. Not all woven geotextiles are the same. They're vastly different.
Vastly different, and it's important to make that distinction. We're going to dive into that a little bit. With certain wovens can get all 5 of these core functions: separation, filtration, and the high strength, high performance wovens can get drainage, confinement, and reinforcement, and we'll get into that as well.
No.
Wait, slip tape is a good drainage?
It's also called slip film.
No, it is not.
No, it is not.
No, it is not. And this is an important distinction. And I guess it's a good place to add here sort of where geotextiles came from. So in the beginning of using geotextiles in civil applications, we're going back some 40, 50 years.
Oh, yeah.
These were products that were borrowed from other industries. So the non-wovens came from furniture and bedding and automotive, and the slip tape fabrics, the wovens, early wovens came from carpet backing. And while they add value, this is first generation, earliest technology, not designed for civil infrastructure applications, but just say, hey, these things kind of work, add value. So we're pretty convinced that slip tape has a place in industry. We like it for silt fencing, pretty good driveway fabric for non-critical separation application, but we're really not looking to use slip tape where water seepage is important.
Right. It's also called slit film. You'll hear that term.
Correct.
Yep.
And this isn't just us saying this. This is leading agencies, including the American State Highway Transportation officials, many DOTs, the Federal Highway Administration have moved away from using slit film geotextiles for applications that require some water flow.
Because the industry has evolved so much. I mean, a lot of products were misused, so then it got a bad reputation.
Correct.
As long as you put the right product in the right place, it's like you don't expect even the smartest fish to climb a tree. Use it where it's needed.
And that's why it's important to understand functions.
Yeah.
Yes. Good place to add here. We do have an important industry development with the passage of the infrastructure bill, some
Huge.
folks call it. We got a lot of money in the pipeline
Yep.
coming to improve.
And we'll get on why we need that.
And we'll
later.
get on why we need that, because boy, do we need that investment. It's been fun the past couple of years hearing the word infrastructure
Mhm.
used so frequently in the news. It's a little outside of the normal news cycle, especially in politics.
Our business knew it, but not the walking around on the street folks. But now they're learning.
That's exactly right. So we are aware that as of now, money that will be funding these projects or projects that are funded through this infrastructure bill will have a requirement for certificates of material origin, verifying that manufactured products, including geotextiles, geosynthetics, geogrids, are made in America. The industry's ready. We've got capacity. It's not a problem. It is something to be aware of, though. Be careful. A lot of the majority of the slit tape that is available commercially in our country right now is made overseas.
Correct.
So we will be on those projects using non-woven geotextiles, or there may be a short supply of domestic slit tape available as well.
And because of our position in the industry and the respect we have, we are your best bet at getting what you need, where you need, when you need it. So if you involve us early and often, we can help identify these things.
And we'll have the certificates to comply with the requirements of these projects.
The earlier you let us know, the earlier we can make sure that we're getting you on the right path to get what you need.
It's coming. We're aware. Be aware. There's another couple of functions listing here called sealing and protection. These are geomembranes, impermeable geomembrane liners for containments in all sorts of applications, stormwater ponds, wastewater ponds, secondary containment. There's a whole suite of geomembrane products made from PVC, HDPE, EPDM, LLDPE, polypropylene, polyurethane. Boy, we got a lot of acronyms, don't we?
I know. I wrote them down before this, hoping that I could help you if you needed it. You don't even need my help. Geosynthetics, clay line, or geosynthetic clay liners, and the list goes on and on.
GCLs, chemically resistant geomembranes. So lots of options out there under the sun. Happy to help pick the right one for the job. Frequently, the use of a non-woven geotextile provides that protection or cushion. So a liner will typically be, a pretty expensive, can be 50 cents, $1 a square foot of material. Put a nice cushy 8-10 ounce non-woven geotextile on there, protect the liner from
Above
function.
or below, where do you put it?
Okay, let's do both.
There you go. Sandwich.
Sandwich.
It really is the best.
It really is the best. So that's the sealing and protection functions for geosynthetics. Oh, could I mention the GCCM?
Yeah.
The GCCM is a very cool, innovative product, a geosynthetic cementatious composite mat, which is a composite liner filled with dry cement, goes on in a roll, wets, and then sets up like concrete.
Now, how do you wet it?
Very cool.
No, really. You said it wets.
Oh, you
So
spray it. You
do. Yeah.
Yes,
And once
yes.
it's properly installed and placed,
hour and a half working time
Spray it
for
down.
GCCM.
I think everybody deserves to see that in action someday. I mean,
That's
that's cool.
probably a webinar of its own.
Yeah, that's cool stuff.
It is cool stuff.
Yeah.
I like the innovative products.
Yeah.
So those are our core functions, which can be achieved using a geogrid, a geotextile, or a multi-function geosynthetic that combines many different functions. So one way to approach this is there's products on the market that are a geogrid combined with a fabric. So this is for subgrade enhancement in soft soils. And it's great to add that separator geotextile. It's nice when frequently we'll do a geogrid with a geotextile fabric and maybe they're different widths. So this is using a multifunction geosynthetic, a grid and fabric in one product. It's one roll. You roll it out, you've achieved your confinement, your reinforcement, your separation, your drainage, all in one product. We've had a lot of success with the multifunction geogrid with fabric. And there's also a way to achieve that multifunction geosynthetic with these specialty high-end woven fabrics. And you can see, looking at these yarns, this is not a flat product. This is not a slit tape. This is a high filtration, high drainage, high friction surface geotextile.
Yeah, you can feel the texture when you have it in your hand. Yeah.
So that is the function of the high performance wovens that allows it to achieve confinement. So with a geogrid, you're achieving confinement with the strike through.
Yeah, the interlock. Yeah.
The interlock.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're still. That's right. So as you strike through one to the other, then you resist that lateral movement.
And resist the lateral
But you're not
movement.
doing anything for separation.
And so, okay, Bill, what's the difference between using a product like this in your aggregate source versus a product like the high strength woven that's using friction for confinement?
Yeah, well, as far as the aggregate's concerned, it's the same as long as you're resisting that lateral movement. The big difference here is you can see there's no separation from the dissimilar materials.
Correct. And I like with the friction-based confinement in the high-strength woven fabrics, you have a little more flexibility
On
with the size of aggregate that's
I knew where
used.
you were headed.
So long as there is a small percentage of fines, which most aggregate mixes have, that fine allows friction to create the confinement in the geosynthetic.
I love that you brought that up, and you did that yesterday too, was you have to have the right size aggregate for a geogrid.
Correct. So
if you have very, very large aggregate, it's going to be as if this was just slip film or slip tape. Or if you have very, very small aggregate, it's just going to pass through and not interlock.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there's
I like what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we're trying to achieve on recommending our geosynthetic solutions for projects is maybe there's an aggregate source that's closer to the job. So we can do reduce trucking, reduce costs, use the closest material source available. And if we can size it with the right solution, maybe it's a high strength woven fabric instead of a geogrid, can shave some considerable dollars carbon footprint in a project by using just a small adjustment.
You're right. And then you start to achieve the goals that you talk about a lot: sustainability, resiliency, reduce the carbon footprint, lower greenhouse emissions,
increase safety.
You don't have as many trucks hauling aggregate on the road for as many miles. And for infrastructure, I know communities that have done a major highway or interstate improvement who later had to create new projects to repair all of the side local streets that they used to get equipment and aggregate in and out of the site. And that's something that wasn't foreseen by a lot of communities. So we're being better stewards of our resources if we put the right solution in the right place at the right time.
Think of how many fewer chipped windshields from.
Oh my goodness, it's a real deal. It's a real deal.
Another nice feature of this particular high strength woven, the Mirify RS series, is of orange yarn, which makes it highly identifiable. Sometimes if materials arrive on site and the labels are gone, you can say, oh, I know that's the right.
Yeah, you're not going to mistake. You're not going to mistake the one that definitely looks orange, especially when you look at it from an angle.
Yes. Versus
just the typical black fabric. Yep.
Wait, do I see another function on there?
Yeah, you do.
Moisture management?
Yeah.
You're telling me we can do moisture management with a geotextile?
If you use the right product.
Go on.
Yeah. So we're all about solving problems. And one of the biggest problems the industry has, especially with roads, is, well, I think the next slide might even show it. How do you say this? Drainage. I'm glad we put that back in.
Brady Bunch fan.
Yeah, it is. So there's two different things that happen with these geotextiles. You talk about filtration and drainage. filtration actually passes through the material so that the water passes through and it holds the sediment where it needs to be. Drainage actually moves in the direction of the plane of the material itself. So this solution is amazing because it has a wicking fabric or wicking fiber in it that will actually move the water laterally. One of the biggest problems with solving road issues is goes back to what Melissa said at the beginning. We talk about solving problems. Well, some people might think, well, that road needs repaved. Just look at the surface of it on the picture on the left. Well, the real problem would be if you aren't providing proper drainage for that subsurface, it's going to continue to be oversaturated so it can lose strength. Or if you're in the cold climates, you can have freeze thaw with that frost heave that just absolutely destroys the road base and destroys the road surface. So if you really have to dig down and put in new storm sewer or go down and replace culverts, it becomes very expensive for the length of a project.
It's always water, isn't it?
Always
It's
water.
always water.
And I struggle with this because growing up as a kid, I really appreciated learning about arid climates. I mean, I remember reading about the Dust Bowl in Kansas, and I know now that we have places that suffer drought. So you have to caution yourself as an engineer not to think of water as the enemy. So we used to call it rainwater, now we call it storm water, and storms are associated with a negative connotation of doing damage. Well, let's be good stewards of all of our resources, not just the rock that we're hauling for a road base, but the water itself. I specialize in stormwater quality, stormwater management. A lot of the education I do is all about stormwater, and I'm compelled to call it rainwater often because so many people in the ag industry, livestock industry, they would really love to have more water available regularly. And then on my mission trips, I see people who don't have a good clean water, safe water, fresh water source. I take it very seriously. But in this example today, like we said, we can't cover everything all in one webinar. When we start to talk about moisture management, this is revolutionary. So on the next slide, I was going to have you keep doing it. I realized I had you do that last time. No, that's not rude. But we start to talk about, when you say multifunction, this fabric, this material is as strong, which is revolutionary strong, as this RSI, but it also now has, which they made blue to identify it so you can easily see it on the job site, this awesome, the next slide will show it, wicking channel. So these fibers, these micro channels, it blows my mind that they're thinner than a human hair and they're conduits to move water away.
In the cross machine direction of the fabric.
Big time. And one of the things that I was going to have on here, there was an animation that Madeline talked about where that microscope is, and it just showed a dropper dropping water, really was the point. This happens on a very, very tiny scale with each individual fiber within this cross section, but over the plane of the roadway of the project, it can move a tremendous amount of water. There's some fantastic research. We'll show a couple more slides on it, but that bottom left corner, that when you talk about a wicking fabric, that's what it does. You can actually install this where you have some wrinkles and folds and some dips and valleys, and rather than just be gravity driven only, this will continue to move water laterally out of the road base, which is huge. This slide shows a typical road section. I like it. I'm gonna hit one more button here, see if it goes. There it goes. So you can see as the water comes down from above, it can move out laterally, but also bore pressure, water coming up from below. And you asked me that term yesterday. You learned it, probably at Mirify U. What is that term they use when the water is no longer moving vertically? I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
Well, I was thinking about the water columns.
Yeah,
but
the water column, that's it.
You said it was pore.
A capillary
break.
And I think it's really great because once that water is no longer passing vertically and it hits this channel, if you will, it's going to continue to move, not just once, but as you said, continuously. And it actually optimizes the moisture content in the soil or the subbase. So this is another animated slide that shows it really well. And we're going to get into some pictures, some case studies that where they've used this successfully. Now you really are providing that drainage, so you're protecting the road base and the road surface above it. So this video is really short. As they poured water into this, the profile view of this shows that the the fabric is arched. So it's down in the bowl, comes up out of the bowl, and then down onto the table surface. If this was gravity only, it wouldn't go anywhere. Well, this works like a siphon. Once this starts, it continues to flow and it continues to move out that moisture so that you don't have saturated soils and a saturated subbase. Why does that matter? As you get oversaturated soil, I guess on you guys will be looking to my left, so I'm looking at the camera view, then you lose soil strength. The resilient modulus talks about strength. If you can optimize that moisture content and get yourself down to the lower end of the x-axis, as you can see, you get this great increase on the y-axis, which is stronger soil strength. Again, most soils really do not perform better when they're oversaturated, so you have to drain them out some way. Another way to look at that, instead of just increasing the resilient modulus, is if you're the person that's responsible for the road surface, you want to reduce the permanent deformation. So you start to get ruts, you start to get potholes, you start to have significant problems on that road surface. It's a safety issue, and not just a comfort and smoothness issue, but definitely a safety issue. You have to optimize that road base in order to protect and save that road surface. Two things can happen when you use material like this. You can either reduce the road section, so you have a thinner section of aggregate, which makes you a good steward of the resource, or you have just extended the life of the project by a factor of 5 to 10, depending on how well you're solving a drainage problem. So we don't tell you what to do, but if you're responsible for a lot of roadways, as we're going to get into here in the infrastructure in a little bit, it's better to do both. I think you reduce how much material you're having to bring into that particular project while extending the life of it, and you can move on to other issues. This one is famous. If you've ever seen the show Ice Road Truckers, the famous Dalton Highway, talk about freeze thaw conditions, major freeze thaw conditions. This was a section of road, as you can see, when they rebuild it, they constantly have problems. You can just visually go up to the site and see that there's moisture throughout that base. And you know that's going to be a problem when the temperature drops and this freezes. The people who worked on this project went out to go look at it, and this is literally what they saw. This wasn't set up by a marketing team. This wasn't like a photographer trying to get the right lighting. They could just definitely see what you said, the moisture, when we talked about this yesterday, that drier surface above with the wet surface below, and that little line right there is actually the edge of the material.
It's so dramatic where
It's
you see the water line that comes out and the dry aggregate on the unpaved surface.
It is. And with this being their first project, they didn't do anything special on the edge. They literally just stopped the edge and daylighted it. And like some people ask, can you turn it down into a tile? Yes. Can you do something else with it and embed it in a drainage layer that goes down to the ditch? Yes. But in this case, they just left it exposed.
Got it to the shoulder, got it to the ditch.
You couldn't ask for a better picture that shows how it works. And here's as it's zoomed in. You can still see that moisture is coming out of that fabric. And that's awesome, because you're now not only protecting the road base above it, but the surface of the road above that. You're going to now get a lot more years and a lot more easels out of that roadway. It's fantastic.
Awesome. Such exciting innovation.
Is the next one yours? I clicked it and
yes. Well, we were moving on to
it's ours, right?
It's ours. We were going to talk about another product category, Geocell or geocellular
There's a picture right here behind
confinement systems. We'll have more pictures on the screen.
Right,
and we're getting these primary two functions out of a geocell of confinement and reinforcement.
We're great on time.
So a geocell is a product that is comprised of 60 mil HDPE, high density polyethylene, and it's cool because it ships super compact. So this is great for just efficiency and trucking and moving materials, but also for remote locations. You can see down on the bottom right of this slide, that's a full bundle of one of these GeoWeb panels that yield 230 square feet in that little bundle that you can just take up.
Pick it up and walk it out to the spot.
Get with your friend, expand the panel, stretch it out. If this is a honeycomb shaped panel that now creates an opportunity to confine whatever fill materials you're using. So let's run through a couple of applications of what we use GeoWeb for. What's really neat is the cells are perforated, so there's lateral drainage within the system, so it's not a cell by cell thing. And you can use available materials. So depending on the application, we're using sand, recycled concrete,
Whatever's on site.
whatever's on site, low quality fill, because you're really, the plastic of the geocell is doing the work of confining the aggregate to create the strength for a lateral load.
And I think that's the first time today you said the word plastic, and we're going to touch on that later too. You're setting this whole thing up, man. This is just rolling.
Here's an example of load support or roadway application for geocell. Your geocells come in from 3-inch to 8-inch depth. So sort of depending on the design, you can really use much lower rock sections for roadways by using a geocell, because you're getting that lateral confinement. So some real cost saving opportunities, particularly again in rural applications. How does it work, Bill? What's the function?
Well, so it distributes the load rather than have a point source come down and create a rut. It distributes that load over a larger section of the rocks. Like you said, you don't get the lateral displacement. When a lot of people think of ruts or potholes, they just think of something getting smashed down in the middle. Well, actually, a lot of that material is getting moved out to the sides, and this resists that. It's like a snowshoe effect.
There's lots of
There's a great picture.
other ways to.
It's the same picture as that one. Sorry to clap.
Geocells can also be used for erosion control on slopes. So this is a great way to use engineered mix. You can put a rock and soil mix within these geocells for a vegetated solution. In channels for erosion control. Channels can be filled with concrete with the engineered mix, or just with stone, depending on what the desired look is. And holy cow, you can stack those panels and build retaining walls. How cool is that?
Yeah, and on that case, they don't perforate the outer row of the geo web, so they don't lose material out of it. As we talked about, the holes within the internal walls. That particular product for the walls, they don't do that. They keep it solid.
The fascia panel is solid and available in tan or green, depending on what kind of environment you're in, to match. Those outer couple of inches of the cell can be vegetated. So these can be either vegetated or unvegetated wall systems. Really versatile. The wall panels come from 3-cell to 8-cell depth, so you can do gravity wall with a wider cell at the base. But we've had a lot of fun with these projects. They're a little more complicated than your average. I'm selling a roll of silt fence, but the good news is we've got experts on staff with a lot of experience building geocell walls, and they can really provide a lot of value. Yeah,
get us involved early and often, and we can talk about these options. I know I've said that, but I beat that drum. Early and often, and we can add more value.
Speaking of MSE structures, stay tuned for the next webinar. We have our next webinar series will be all about MSE walls.
I'm pumped about that. That'll be January 4th with Travis Reel.
That'll be January 4th, and Travis loves him some GeoWeb walls.
Yeah. Okay, I love this slide. So Melissa, she's awesome. She talked about infrastructure being a term that now everybody uses. So I'm underlining that one, that we covered it. As an engineer, I've seen a lot of value and be involved with ASCE. One of the things ASCE does every few years, every 4 years, I think, is they come out with an infrastructure report card. And folks, you got to talk about it. I mean, sometimes some things are hard to talk about. Let's talk about it. You can see the green arrows where some of the categories of the infrastructure have improved. Red is where they've gone down, and bridges are something that's near and dear to our heart because we have some materials and some of our solutions involved with that. But the one I circled here today on purpose is roads. D is not really a passing grade. It's not really acceptable. And as far as I can see, our society is not going to stop driving anytime soon. This needs to be addressed. So there's only a limited amount of money. We talk about finances. You do this at home. We do this as a country. We only have this one bucket of money, and you got to decide how to divide that up. We're not telling people what to do or how to do it because we're trying to be greedy or be arrogant. We're trying to help improve this grade and also be better better stewards of our resources. When we talked about earlier using something like a geogrid or a high strength geotextile, possibly reducing your road section, we're not anti-rock. We're saying rather than haul this much rock to that job every 3 years, Why not haul this much rock to that job every 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years? And now you can go focus your efforts somewhere else. Because if every community only fixes their favorite street and their main thoroughfares, then that national grade is never going to get better. We have a big job ahead of us. And as Don Tiemann, our friend and coworker, says, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time is what he says. Well, rather than just accept this as insurmountable, we got to start improving.
And last road trip I went on, I noticed we hadn't exactly fixed all the roads yet. So we got some work to do.
Got work to do.
Got work
and we're here to help. So, okay, Melissa came from I don't remember what conference it was where that you learned this. And what's the #1 transportation infrastructure asset in the US based on dollars spent, right?
Yep, that's the question.
Okay, so this is multiple choice. There's nothing for you to click on. I just want you to think about this. Is it railroad ties, locks and dams, road base, or planes, trains, and automobiles? Those aren't pillows. So
Okay, I have my answer in my head.
because you're the one that told me.
I know the answer.
C.
It's the rock.
The rock. It's road base. And yes, I know I should have made that option D since that was the letter grade we got. It's the rock.
It's the rock.
You're telling me we spend more, the United States spends more money on rock as an infrastructure resource than anything else.
It's about the least visible and maybe the least intuitive way to think about the road base is as this transportation infrastructure asset, but it truly is. And this was a presentation that made my head explode, given by my dear friend Mark Marienfeld at the GAP conference a few years ago in Colorado Springs. But it really just brought everything that I've always felt about the geosynthetic value proposition in such a one simple and basic application right there. That is what we as a nation have spent the most amount of money on in our transportation roadway system is the sub base. It's the road base. So you see a pothole and you think, oh, I need to patch that asphalt, or, there's a crack in my concrete pavement. Well, I need to fill it.
Dig a little deeper.
Correct. Keep going. What's going on in areas of our country where we have soft soils is we're getting this intermix of aggregate with the roadway base, and that degrades the base. And then you start seeing the problems up in the surface of the road.
There's that word problem again.
There's that road.
So we can help identify the real problem.
I think that's what we're getting at. Okay, I see. What's that orange line there?
Okay, that's probably RSI in this example. And this is again what we talked about earlier. There are material savings. You can have a thinner rock section to still satisfy what you need for AASHTO standards for your easels, for your pavement design, or you can put this in there and still have a significant rock section. And now you've just extended the number of easels that road can handle. So you've extended the life of that project. That's the sustainability and resiliency.
We need to keep them separated.
Keep them separated. No, wait, go back. We're not done. There's a quote from you in the bottom of this that we can't see. You were talking about what you learned from the GAP conference. We're not anti-rock. We're saying let's use it smarter and be better about it. You said the fabric is cheap, so just throw in the...
Use the damn fabric.
Use the damn fabric.
Use the damn fabric.
When she said that to me, I right away thought of Rocky. We goes, throw the damn towel. It was just, Melissa's point. It's such an inexpensive piece of insurance.
Correct.
That not only makes your road last longer, but you can then take that resource and go spend it somewhere else.
There's few circumstances I can think of where it wouldn't be valuable and prudent to include a separator geotextile in any roadway system.
It's just that simple.
Paved or unpaved, driveway, highway, use the separator.
We've got truckloads of it right here, readily available. We can get it to you tomorrow.
Readily available, inexpensive.
Be careful. You kicked me for saying tomorrow. We're all right. You love this slide.
Well, that's it. It's the most basic function. We talk about our favorite old adage.
There's the word.
We're trying to, that's separation. We're maintaining, keeping dissimilar materials separate.
Yep.
Okay, that's what keep the rock, and the subbase can be the
And if you don't, that's what you get.
That's our adage. 10 pounds of stone placed down 10 pounds of mud
Becomes
is
20 pounds
mud. That's not a good road base.
No, and as a guy that lives on a gravel road and I have a gravel driveway, and I mistakenly, because I used the same driveway to build the house, I never put down fabric. So now I get to continue to bring in loads of rock. So I am the sinner. I'm violating my own advice. But my kids learned this at a young age,
Mhm.
is why is the driveway always muddy? Because they go, is the rock going down in the mud or is the mud coming up through the rock? And I
Yes.
say, yes.
Yes, that is correct.
Yes.
Separation,
Yeah.
keep those dissimilar materials apart. That was driven home on this is a recent project, utility project in Southeast Portland. And one of our very kind customers did this cut for the water pipe you see on the bottom there, and grabbed this chunk of fabric for me. And Travis said, "Oh God, show that to Melissa. She's an old fabric nerd. She's gonna want to know what that is." And this made me so happy. I am
Nerd.
I promise you, I sold this project 25 years ago, and to see this excavated, look at that. The rock is clean. Look what's beneath it. What would that look like without the separator geotextile?
It would all be mud.
It would all be mud.
Yeah.
It would all be mud. Look at the pavement on top of it.
Yeah.
I see 3 or 4 inches of pretty good looking intact
You need a
asphalt.
lot more than that, and you wouldn't last very
It
long
would
if you
not
didn't have
have
that
lasted
separation.
that long. So that was just brought it all home to me in such
amazing.
a powerful way. And I think I posted this on LinkedIn, some of us.
You did, but what's really cool is this wasn't staged by a manufacturer.
Heck
This
no.
wasn't purposely laid out by a
This
university.
wasn't a
This
research
is
project.
real world.
Yes,
And what company did you say you think that fabric was
I
from?
believe that was the old Amico 2044.
There's how many people on this webinar you think might really have any experience or know about that?
Well, let's hope there's some other geo nerds on here.
About
too.
the same that might
Yeah.
have known my movie reference?
Yeah, exactly. But the point is the same. That is a high strength woven geotextile that allows good water flow and drainage, high tensile strength, and what a beautiful illustration
It's
of
still doing its job.
Still doing its job, not biodegraded, not it's inert,
Yeah.
and creating incredible value for this roadway infrastructure.
I love it.
Just really neat to see.
I love it. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, this is what you said last week. Bill, you said, are we going to talk about this? And I go, what? And you said the
Elephant in the room.
the elephant in the room, and I got quiet. Like, I don't know which one. What?
Elephant.
What are you talking about? Which elephant? And you said plastics,
Mhm.
microplastics. And I said, what? And so now I found this image of an elephant between this guy and this gal. And then I had to add the one on the bottom right because, oh yeah, big ruby elephant. The one on the bottom right, what do you think that's made of?
I think it's a plastic elephant.
I think it is. That's a good segue.
Yeah.
To
Well,
a real topic.
a real topic, and want to
We're
talk.
good on time.
Okay, thank you. Want to talk about microplastics. So I think this is something that is becoming a larger concern. It's been a concern in scientific communities for a long time, but it's really rising to the surface of the way we're thinking about the products all around us. And why is this important? There's a lot of microplastic pollution. It's showing up in marine animals. It's showing up in human beings. We're ingesting microplastics. Some of it is not a big deal. It passes through. Some of it is quite toxic. It's everywhere. It's actually a super depressing topic, but something that I think is important for us to understand kind of where it's coming from. We are a polymer. Many of our products are polymer based, our plastic products. Is that a problem? And we're taking this very seriously and thinking about it and trying to be really honest about it. The truth is, in the research that I've seen, it's not 100% clear exactly where all the microplastics are coming from. There's different sources, sort of name these percentages in different buckets, but it's clear the lion's share of secondary microplastics, those that are accidentally or inadvertently released into the environment, are from tires, which there's lots of tires on road, pavement markings. And I'm really excited to see innovations coming out of those industries, which I hope we will be looking for reducing strategies out of those industries. Synthetic textiles, the dry fit clothing we all love, really releases those microplastic fibers in our washing machines. So there's things we can be doing as consumers. less drying, hang your clothes to dry, get rid of those one-time single-use plastics. Bill and I don't use plastic water bottles. It's a small thing,
Yeah.
but times all of us can make a difference. We should be thinking really carefully about fast fashion and choices we're making that way. That is,
So what about all of our
that is
plastics that
all-
we have out here in the warehouse?
that is all to say, there is good plastic and there is bad plastic when it comes to microplastics, and we are part of the solution.
Not
So,
part of the problem.
not part of the problem. So while single-use plastics easily contribute to microplastics, geosynthetics do not.
Right.
I believe this, but don't take it from me. Take it from the International Geosynthetics Society, which is the academic arm of our industry. I see a white paper on this every week out of the Geosynthetic News Alert. Our industry is thinking about it.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of education.
There's a
happening right
lot of
now.
education about it, but our products protect the nation's waterways. Our products, geosynthetics, are heavily utilized in waste management, in landfills that contain plastics from getting into the oceans and becoming microplastics. We reduce the carbon footprint in construction, and importantly, we increase the design life of infrastructure. So utilizing geogrids and roadways, in MSE structures, in linings, in canals, and bridges and dams, we're adding value and improving the design life of infrastructure. So geosynthetics are not a bad plastic, are not contributing to microplastics in any meaningful way at all.
No, and that matters to both of us and our company in general. But
Yeah.
I'm glad we've talked about this, and I think
Mm-hmm.
this presentation is the right time to talk about it. Looking at time, we got a few more minutes. I think we have a couple more slides here.
Okay.
But I think you've made a really good point, because I go to a lot of conferences and I've had people go, oh, is that made of plastic?
Mhm.
This was years ago.
Mhm.
And I thought, yeah, it is. I don't know which one's good or bad. So we purposely learned about it as much as we can to try to be good stewards of our entire environment.
A plastic polymer-based turf reinforcement mat can reinforce vegetation and make it so you can use a grassed waterway instead of riprap or concrete. So we can use soft armor solutions
As a permanent solution.
As a permanent solution in conjunction with vegetation that improves water quality, improves aesthetics, safety. We get the benefits of vegetation. So sometimes we use a plastic with vegetation, we're without contributing in any negative way.
I'm glad we made time for this, because we had so many products and some things we like, the geofoam and things we didn't have time to show and go hands-on with. It's almost like we need to do another geosynthetics webinar someday with all the other things we didn't get to.
Sure.
But I think it was really important to make time for this.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. So in summary, you said this, and I'm glad you did, is we're not just throwing solutions out there and having them good luck. We're trying to help them solve problems. And
identify problems.
Yeah. But part of that is relationship. It's just an email or just a phone call doesn't always do it. Travis Reel does a wonderful job of sharing pictures and photos or videos. And some of our people are really good at making time to go see every project that they can. Earlier you get us involved, to say early and often, we can add more value. You already did a great job talking about how geosynthetics are multifunction, and they're not all created equal.
And we're not suggesting that this webinar tells you which product to choose in every situation. Call us. We are geovangelists.
I can't believe that term.
Geo nerds. We'd love to hear about if there's an opportunity for us to provide a valued solution. So we'll go to project sites. Would love to come do lunch and learns and specify our Clean and Green.
It's amazing.
Our sustainability conference.
So it'll be the first time here in Portland, March 14th, and I'll be here with you.
Yes.
And folks, this is awesome. I've done this for 8 years. It's 7 hours of professional development hours, continuing education. We get a little more specific. So rather than this 1 hour webinar where we may have teased you with the description saying you're going to know which product to pick for which application, you're getting further. But with Clean and Green, you'll have product experts there from the manufacturers, and we're going to give them to you in 20 to 30 minute bullet points of presentations. and it's awesome networking. We get anywhere from 50 to 110 people at those Midwest locations. And we're really excited to bring this out to Portland, March 14th, but
March
you got to
14th.
register.
Yes, register. It's a full day. There'll be a lovely lunch, lots of good
Yeah.
networking. Some really, we'll have a handful of vendors there, presenting and exhibiting.
I'm
looking
excited
forward to it. I am
about it.
too.
It's super cool. Please register so we know how many people are coming, how big of a room we need. The earlier you register, the better the food is, the better the giveaways are.
Yeah.
Everything's just better. So register for that so we know who's coming and contact us. You like this slide because this is the whole point of all of this.
Mhm.
They don't have to memorize everything we said.
Mhm.
They just have to know that they can call and ask questions.
Yep.
Is there any obligation for them to work with us? We give a suggestion, are they absolutely obligated, or can we give them a few different recommendations and options and then they can pick and choose?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're not bullies.
No, try not to be.
All right, I appreciate you.
Except with separation geotextile. Always use a separator.
Yeah, exactly. There it is.
Always use the
You finally
separator.
broke it out. That's awesome. Thank you. You did awesome. Thanks, everybody.